We all have obsessions. If you don't, you're boring. A few of mine include independent horror films and good looking beards. It's a well known fact. So, what happens when you introduce me to a red headed, bearded, aspiring filmmaker to me? Damn. I met Mike Corona, better known as the Hombre in Black, through social media networking. It's a thing. I was impressed with his 15-second horror film short titled That One and how simply it was filmed. I got to know Mike a bit and found he has quite a vision. He's very talented and has a vast knowledge in classic horror films, plays guitar, plays with toys, and has a great eye for collecting said toys. And damn, that beard. If I ever get my indie horror book film going, I know that makes sense. It's Mike's journey as a film writer and director that I want to chronicle. So he's under some pressure by me. So without further ado, boils and ghouls, let me introduce you to the Hombre in Black.
Shut the fuck up.
Mike, welcome to the virtual edition of the Devil's Whorehouse. Yay!
All right,
welcome to our dwelling. It took a few months, but hey, we're back on track.
Yeah, we're finally doing it.
Got our shit together. We've been talking about getting you on this ridiculous show to talk about you.
Yeah.
All right.
That's right.
So my first question to you is, what is the horror film that started it all for the Hombre in Black?
Oh, jeez. I watched a lot of horror films over the years, but it'll probably sound kind of like a complex thing, but it's got to go back to Halloween 1978, John Carpenter. Like I remember growing up, my mother was kind of strict, so I would used to go to my cousin's house and he would kind of like play some horror films for me there, without my mom knowing. And he's like, yeah, hey man, he goes, I'm playing this movie, Halloween, I was like, well, what's that? I just remember this like guy just kind of standing in the shadows and, it was like really like crazy, like you kind of didn't see him for like a lot of like the movie. I'm like, is this about a killer or what? Like, I don't know, like, I don't understand this. And then, like in the little parts where he would kind of pop up, or just like, oh shit,
Yeah, he's
and
scary.
And I had always been kind of into movies, as a kid, but I was, like the movies I seen were just like the kids movies, the Disney movies, action, little like action adventure stuff like that. So, but I started seeing that and I was like, whoa, this is some trippy shit, it kind of scared me at first, because I was like small, I didn't understand, but but it is, but just like the whole, like the way it was made and it was just so like, I was kind of thinking to myself, I'm like, well, this looks like something I could do maybe on like, if I get like a video camera or something,
And it's pretty interesting that you mentioned that. Horror has always been for a lot of us, especially those who grew up in the 80s.
Yeah.
I think you're like 12. But
yeah.
but
I wish.
It's interesting how it was like this forbidden thing that we all kind of, not all of us, but we had to like sneak and watch.
Yes.
But it's funny how there's always some aspect of a parental influence when it comes to our love of horror. My mom won't admit that.
Yeah. Well, and I think that too, the fact that it was so like forbidden just made it that much better and just like, what, fuck this shit, like I'm gonna do it, so.
Yeah. Fuck you, mom. I watched this.
Exactly, amongst the many other things that they probably don't know about, but right.
It's really funny that you say that because here's how my brain works.
Yeah.
As you get older, it's funny how, and it's liberating how you can actually tell your parents all the shit you did behind their back.
Exactly.
As an adult, you get them drunk around a dinner table at a casino, and I told my dad all kinds of stuff that led him speechless. He was like,
what?
Kept drinking.
Yeah.
So, what's funny about you is you remind me of Victor Frankenstein from Frankenweenie.
Oh.
When did you know you wanted to get into the director's chair? Were you still a young lad?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've always been kind of obsessed and fascinated with films. But I remember going and visiting my grandma. She lives in West LA, right in the heart of everything. Like I used to go and see her and spend like a couple of weeks with her, like every summer. Me and my brother. And she's a big lover of everything art. She did photography. She loved going to the movies, so like she would do all that kind of stuff with us, take us to museums, everything. Like she was one who was always like very much encouraging of all my creative endeavors. Very like early on, because that's how she was. She was a very like free spirit and like go out and do that. Whatever you want to do, play guitar, like anything, just let me know, and I'll hook you up, so she would always like, but, when we went to the movie, to watch a film, she would actually like make us stay after the credits and be like, Michael, she's like, it's not just the actors and the people in the movie that make it great. Like, go. She's like, I want you to sit here and watch all the credits, and all of these people worked very hard on this movie, to bring it, to life. And that was always just kind of became a tradition after that. So we would just watch the movie, and then we would stay and watch all of the credits, and I'd be like,
Wow.
Yeah.
I've never heard that before.
Yeah.
Well, maybe I have, but not into that intensity. That's really, really important because
Yeah.
usually that's stuff that we do on our own. But
Yeah.
to have someone go, hold on, there's more to this than that. That's really, really special. So you guys, that's really special. Before we keep going, I want to just bring up your films. Actually, would you mind if we rolled a couple of them? The ones that I found,
Absolutely.
the one that found. How do I say this? The one that won.
That one that found you there.
Fuck my life. Just roll the damn films.
There it is.
Oh, so sick. Awesome. So,
I'm blushing here. I'm
I
blushing.
love that was so good. It takes a lot to make a
Yes.
film. So even for 15-second short films. So what all went into making, especially that one is the one I'm really focused on. What all went into making that? And how long did it actually take for that 15-second film?
Okay, so I've like I said, all my life I wanted to be directing. It wasn't until high school that I met my friend and my producer and my best friend. His name is Chris No, great guy. He's also a really great writer. He's a great guitar player. Like everything, like pretty much all of my creative endeavors that I've been doing so far have been with him. And in 2013, we, like after high school, we had kind of like lost touch, but so we hadn't really talked. We would see each other here and there. So 2013, we have a local 7-Eleven by my house, and we kind of ran into each other like, hey, what are you doing? I'm, he's like, are you still trying to make movies and stuff? I'm like, dude, I'm trying, dude, man, I'm hustling out there, but I just I was like, it was kind of a low point for me. I wasn't feeling very inspired, and nothing was really coming of it. So he's like, dude, he goes, I'm trying to get back into it too. He goes, I'm not really working right now. Let's meet up and let's hang out. Let's talk some ideas, talk shop. So I was like, yeah. So we just had this like really great conversation that day. And I actually walked away from that conversation feeling like super inspired, like probably the most inspired I've ever felt in like a long time. Like I was like going home, like just like ecstatic, I'm like, wow, life's kind of brought me back this friend of my life, who's like really passionate about me like I am. So, we kind of just treaded here and there, and then so we had, he had gotten a brand new job, and he had this friend, David Sanchez, another great guy, who was also the, producer on that film. And he's like, hey, he goes, let's get something going right now. He goes, there's this 15-second film contest, that I know that I watch every year that we should just really do. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. I'm like, I've never tried to do anything in that short amount of time, or can it even be done? So we would just kind of brainstorm, and we all kind of brought ideas to our, to the table of like what we can do, and we're just like, we were kind of just sort of like, how the hell do we get something in 15 seconds? So, and then, my friend Chris, he had brought us the script, I don't remember if it had that title yet, but he kind of brought us this idea and this concept of, the whole girl, she's kind of playing, she has a doll, and she's kind of like, and then she's like looking up and her parents are like, tied up and whatever, and there's like a murderer, they're about to like chop him up or whatever, but the whole kicker was, that she's kind of like in on it, and he's kind of like telling her, hey, which one's gonna go? And she's like, that one, whatever it was. So I was just like, what the fuck is that? So it was like, you know what, dude? I'm like, you know what? I had something written. I liked it, but that's, that's got to be the one to do it. That's the winner. So he's like, yeah. So we got an owner. He's like, he goes. So then I brought him some of my vision for it, and he's like, yeah, dude, you got to direct. Like we're all doing it, but but this has got to be a micro in a picture.
Oh,
So
sick.
yeah, so we it was the whole shebang. We kind of went through. We took a couple months, and we did pre-production. We really fleshed out that that idea of like how we would shoot it. We had our friend Daniel Sanchez, another great guy. A lot of Sanchez's in there. I know a lot of dirty Sanchez's. I know. He's actually a great artist, a great comic book artist, and he had done some work for us in the past, kind of just doing some drawings. But he actually, when he did our official storyboards, that we had there, and he really kind of helped us plan it out, and we did the whole thing. We got the equipment. I was like, what? I've been experimenting with this whole iPhone filmmaking. I just got a new iPhone at the time, and so I had this new program that I was using and lensing and everything. So I'm like, let's do some test shooting. So we did some test shots, and they're like, dude, I love the way that comes out. So like, what, we just need so we had to go out and get the whole shebang, the whole location and actors. I'm like, well, who the hell are we gonna put in this movie? Like, we need a kid. I know a couple kids in my family, but I don't know if they would really go for that. We got any, so he found his son, his son's half sister was actually about that right age, and she had that like kind of like look. She was a very, like as you see in the film, she's a very cute kid, but with that look, she's very sinister. So, I'm like, what, it would be, it'd be perfect. So like we talked to her mom, we kind of sold it on her, and she's like, yeah, she's like, so we got the whole thing. We got the really, the professional release form saying, that you give us permission for your child to be on camera, yada, yada. And then and then our friend, and who actually plays the killer in the movie, Jimmy Garrett, well, we call him, he kind of adopted the name, the big package Jimmy Garrett, It's a whole thing, but he had, his aunt had a house, and she's like, dude, my aunt lives by herself, and she's got this really cool house, and like I've been telling her about this film, and she actually suggested, hey, you want to come film here? So I was like, well, yeah, let's go check it out, So we went and we checked it out. It had that nice open space, she lives by herself. She's like, yeah, like I'll just chill in my room or whatever. You guys can come in here and do your thing. I was like, Are you sure? Like
Wow.
you got a bunch of strangers coming in your house. She's like, yeah, you guys are really cool. Jimmy's my nephew. I trust him, all that kind of stuff. So, kind of just went from there. So then we had to go and plan a date. So like, we all worked full time at the time. So like, okay, well, when's the time where we can all just kind of just maybe like meet during the week or after work or something to kind of do it. So we got that day planned. But then we're like, okay, well, we're still kind of missing the mom and the dad. I was like, okay, well, now we got to find them. So, luckily, the guy who played dad in the movie, he's a great friend of ours. His name is Juan Rocha, great guy. He actually worked with Chris at his old job. So, he would come and hang out with us all the time. And he's like, hey, you want to be in this film? Like he's like, I never acted. I'm like, well, okay. I'm like, you got no lines in this film. You just kind of just have to look scared. And he's like, which will probably be because you're working with a bunch of amateurs here, I guess, So it might be some real fright, So he's like, yeah. He goes, I'm down to do it. Okay. So I'm like, cool. We got that all squared away. I'm like, okay, well, now we need a mom. So I was like, well, who the hell are we gonna get for that? And I known a couple actresses, a couple ladies who would probably I thought would be great for it, but it just just scheduling and just nothing really kind of like lined up, and they kind of flaked on me. So I was like, oh man, like what are we gonna do? But then again, the all-star really of that film was our friend Jimmy Garrett. Again, he's like, hey, he goes, I know this girl who used to work with me, and she's actually like really big into horror, and she wants to get into like acting and stuff. He goes, I can pop the idea by her and see what she thinks. So I guess he kind of like presented he floated it to her, and she's like, yeah. She goes, I'm down to like think about it. So we actually all went down and we met at this really cool Mexican restaurant in Fullerton. And like right up my alley, talking horror films and Mexican food. Like I'm a happy camper,
Right? Horror films and tacos.
So, and that's pretty much how it went down. We have the full like presentation ready to go. We sat down, we got a big order of tacos and drinks, and we just kind of just talk shop and like, what, here's our film, I know it's us and a bunch of dudes and trust me, it's safe, don't get scared, we're just really here to just make a really cool film. So she's like, yeah. She goes, I love it. She goes, I'm down. I'm like, oh, there you go. So everything was kind of coming into play. So we just kind of had to finalize the that release date with her. And then so I think it was October 9th of 2019 that we had set, and that's the one we did it. So yeah, we got everything ready to go. And my friend Chris, his son, his son, I think he just turned 11 years old and already big into horror films.
Love it.
He calls me his Uncle Mike, he's a really great kid, I love him to death, so I had even bought him I went to this horror fest. I think it was I forget, it was the horror one, what they do at the Halloween store over there in La Mirada. I forget. Anybody just give me
the Spooksy Boo thing,
Spooksy
right?
Boo, yeah. So yeah, I went there and I actually grabbed him his his very first Halloween Michael Myers shirt, and he loved it. He was so ecstatic. He's like, I'm wearing it to the shoot. He goes, I want to be part of the shoot. He goes, can I just be can I be the guy who does a slate and everything? He was on, he was on cloud nine. It was so great. So we went down there, we got to filming, and we actually filmed it all in like one night.
Wow.
One night, yeah. Like we and it actually went down the way because like we actually took all that, we had everything planned, so we were pretty much just ready to go and execute everything.
Well, clearly you guys are excellent planners. It's really interesting. I feel like I came into your realm right in the middle of that time, and I was really impressed with your rig. And I'm going, and I remember seeing that at a legit professional press event at Universal Studios during Christmas time, and I saw this guy who was like, I never give myself enough credit, but an actual person who's part of the press, this gentleman who has all these followers, and whatever his station was, he has the same simple rig. That thing's fire.
It works.
Chuck uses it, and it works because your film is really incredible. So it's just crazy. And I just want to highlight that it takes so much time. People don't understand how much time, and we'll get into that, especially as I talk to other filmmakers, what a grueling process making films is. So like, for example, it took Josh Hasty, the director of and creator of Candy Corn, which is another, staple film. It really is. It took him, I want to say like 10 years, and, a lot of tears, a lot of frustration. It's a lot of shit for, that hour and a half that, fans get to actually see the film.
Yeah.
He was going to give up. He was going to, try something else, but he's always been in film. So whatever kept him going. And it really shows it really shows. And that film's one of those films where it's going to be a staple at some point. You know what I mean? It's a staple Halloween film. I loved it. It was so much fun. But with that, when you read these stories and you hear these stories, do the plights of independent horror filmmakers deter you at all? You said that you had kind of a block, but do you ever get deterred going, how the fuck am I going to do this?
Absolutely. I mean, it's like anything. I mean, you're human, and you kind of have your low points, but to me, it's having such great friends like the ones I have that I made the film with, and like obviously, like we're all kind of like motivating each other, that's what's, that's the thing that's, that you really have to think about and just kind of, and just be like, what, it's okay. We're all going to go through that times, but you got it. I mean, you have this in the bag and you try to just keep going forward, like I said, like I was at that low point and I was just like, I really don't know what I'm doing in my life. I'm getting older. and I know it's a struggle, but I didn't really see myself kind of like happening for me. I'm like, it's just not happening, but that was just kind of just me being impatient and not really just kind of like losing that focus, and like believing in yourself, and not knowing that you can do it. And it just takes that one meeting, that one time with the right person to kind of come back into your life and just be like, hey, I'm on the same page, let's get it going. And as soon as that happened, the energy changed and shit it just started going.
I love when that happens.
Yeah.
A lot of us, are struggling. A lot of creatives are having a hard time, obviously, with coronavirus.
Oh, yeah.
You were working at a movie theater before COVID, and you were concerned not only about your job, but the movie industry. We have these conversations, and I could actually feel your fears, and your concern. And these fears are building as the months wear on. And let me just state for the record, this is why I hate big budget horror films so much sometimes, is because you have a finished product, and yes, it's a pandemic, and yes, everyone's losing fucking money. Why can't you just give us Halloween kills, please? I'm just saying. I mean, fuck. You know what I mean? You have a finished product. So anyway, so that's just my little gripe about the horror, or about big budget horror films or films in general. We don't know where the film industry is going to be in a year. It's going to be independent filmmakers.
Yeah.
And a lot of creatives to actually come up with new content to keep us entertained. So that was my rant for the moment, for now.
Well, I got you. Well, you know what? Well, actually, like speaking on that really quick, I think I kind of have a kind of a simple, well, not really a simple answer, but kind of my view on that is because dealing with people in the business and seeing how that works behind the scenes in the, I'm in the industry, in the studio. Sadly, a lot of those big corporations, they bring us the movies, but they're run by a board of directors. They're run by producers, but they're businessmen, and all they care about business. They care about quotas. They care about all of that kind of stuff. Half of them don't even like movies, to be honest with you.
Right?
They don't care about any of that. So like they're just thinking about, okay, well, they're looking at the statistics. How much money are we going to get back? Yes, I understand it takes a lot of money to make the movies, but that's where they're coming from. So if they don't see a profit or anything coming to them, they're going to be like, no. So yeah, it's the sad truth. Yeah, it does.
It really fucking blows, and that's why I want to make sure, going forward, I see this as it's an opportunity, not the one we were all expecting, but to just go over independent horror films. I'm really, I'm not a filmmaker, but I'm really inspired by like Terrifier and Damien Leone, and how he was able to say, I can't do I'm not going to go get corporate funding because that's going to fuck with my film.
Yes,
you know what I mean? And so he's just one of my inspirations, that I just want to highlight because it is important to me to highlight filmmakers. But you basically answered the question without me even asking it.
Well, the great thing about Damien is that, like he really, like, he took that concept and really just ran with it. Not only did he get to make his film, but he made it the way he wanted, and it still ended up being a success. It's not fucking Netflix, for God's sake. I'm like, to me, that would be like winning a fucking Oscar for me. Like, not only did I get to make my film, but it's not fucking Netflix. I'm like, yes,
It's gonna happen, Mike.
Yeah.
Now, what I love is that, I had told you at the beginning of all this, when you were worried about your job and stuff, I said, don't let the pandemic curb your creativity. This is our time. And I know you enjoyed your movie theater job, and you actually ended up getting, a better one per se.
Yes.
And then you've been killing it with, staying creative, and you're still filming. You started a stop motion. You started doing these little stop motion shorts.
Yeah.
And then more recently, you're setting up these scenes with your dope ass figurines. And what planted that seed?
You know what? It kind of just started from there. Like, I didn't, like, I've always loved everything. I've been very into much of pop culture, obviously, but I didn't, I kind of had a few, like, collectible toys here and there, and it really kind of started off with, I had this Back to the Future. Oh, thank you. There's this company called Playmobil, and I had gotten this. I saw that they were coming out with this Back to the Future set where you kind of build it or whatever. I'm a huge Back to the Future fan, so I'm like, you know what? I'm like, I haven't really spent any of my money in the pandemic. I've been saving, and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna spoil myself, and I'm gonna buy it. So I went and I bought it, and it was like Christmas. I was like, oh my God, this is fucking amazing. It lit up. I got to build it. See it come to life, and I was like, you know what? I'm like, I got to film something of this. So I went and I kind of planned out. I kind of recreated that scene from the mall. And I kind of did that, and I was like, that came out great. I was very satisfied with that. And then, I had another one that I had did, where, I have a kind of, I don't know if you can see it, but I do have a collection of pops over here. But, so I had a couple, like, yeah, I had a couple of horror pops, and I kind of just played around with that. And I'm like, you know what? I'm feeling, very inspired. I'm like, it's just kind of fun. This is kind of like filmmaking without, but with toys, and I can still kind of get to that same process and everything. So, I started to get some more stuff, and I think I started. Ooh, okay. And then I had watched the stop motion film. You know what? I apologize. I forget the name of the guy who made it, but it was a Batman versus Terminator stop motion film, which I never thought of. I was like, that's fucking cool. So I had watched it a bunch of times, and it was freaking amazing the way it was made. It was like 5 minutes long. It was so cool. But there was this Batman figure in there that I had seen. I'm like, I have never seen that Batman figure ever in my life. I'm like, where is it? I'm like, was that like custom made or anything like that? Like I didn't know a lot about the toy companies at that time. So I went and I did research. Yeah, I mean I did, but I didn't know like kind of like the more expensive ones you can go and get, because I wasn't really spending that kind of money at that time. So so, and I found out, and somebody said, yeah, it was it's this company called Mezco Toys, and they make these really cool, like, 1/12 scale collectible figures. They're cloth figures, which is great. And, but the one that I had seen, it was one of their first ones that they had made from their 1/12 line, like 3 or 4 years ago. And I was like, oh shit. So I really wanted it. I really, really, really wanted it, because I'm a huge Batman fan. So, I went to, like if anybody, I'm just know about frankincense over there in City of Industry, right there by my house. I went to all the shops. So I'm like, if anybody's going to have it, it's going to be here. And I would go to all the places where they would have these Mezco toys there, and they would just kind of just look at me and be like, that's what you're really trying to find? Like, where have you been, under a fucking rock? That's so hard to find. I'm like, like you might as well just try and go fucking win, the lottery. You probably have a better chance. So I'm like, shit. I'm like, I'm screwed. I'm like, I really want that toy. So, and then that's when the whole eBay black hole started for me, really there, because I went and I looked on eBay, and somebody actually had it. They had it mint in the box, not opened. It was a lot more than I wanted to pay for it, but I was like, you know what, I'm gonna treat myself. And I bought it, and I got it, and I was like, and I fell in love with it, and I just kind of got hooked after that. So I'm like, well, you know what, now I got this Batman, I need more toys. Pretty much I see it as kind of buying back my childhood. Yeah,
it's an investment.
Because as a kid, I mean, I had a lot of these toys on like a smaller scale, older scale, but because I grew up in my grandmother's house, and when I moved out, she gave a lot of that away, so, and I lost all my toys, obviously. So, and then of course, so I was on like a really big, like, Batman EC kind of kick. I was getting all the toys that, yeah, because they had just released their DC Direct line, from the animated series. So I pretty much got everything that I could of that. McFarlane Toys released because they have a contract with them now, so they had released their scale toys, and which is great. And then I'm like, well, you know what? I'm like, I have all that, but what about my horror figures? So I had a couple NECAs back in the day, but they were the lot older ones, and they didn't really have any articulation. That they were just almost kind of like statues, which are great. But so I'm like, well, I want to start, and I had been on Instagram kind of like looking for these toys, but in doing that, I had seen this whole world of toy photography where people were actually taking these toys and recreating scenes and making them look like to that. And I'm like, that's wow. I'm like, that's just so cool. I'm like, I could probably do that, I guess. I hope, So, I had taken some of the toys that I had there, and I started doing it, and I'm like, yeah, I did, that's my work. So I'm like, well, now I'm like, so then I started to think of all of these scenes that I could do. And that's pretty much what kind of fueled. I'm like, okay, well, I need this figure, I need that one, and that one. And so then I got into the horror line, and I saw all the stuff from NECA Toys, and it was all downhill from there.
Right? And I was going to say, it's like this pit that I didn't want to go into. I have a few of you fuckers to thank for, you know what, I'm not going to do it. I really, and it's funny, I don't have, okay, Predator the Predator series is great.
Yeah.
I don't know why I have to have that one. You know what I'm talking about, because you actually tried helping me find it.
Yes.
I don't know why I have to have that one, but we're not going to talk about that because
I know.
it pisses me off.
Yes.
We're not going to talk about They Live either, even though one day, you and I are going to play with our figures together.
All right.
So let's see here, because if we go into NECA,
That'll just be an endless black hole, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you guys know, if you're into, collecting toys, you know exactly where that conversation would lead into.
Mhm.
So you're deep into that, which I absolutely love. So with all the major, let's switch gears from toys, because now
Okay.
I'm like, I want that
thinking about toys, I
fucking
know.
toy. With all the major haunts being canceled, I'm not sure what you went to last year, but what are you going to miss the most this Halloween season?
Just the whole, like, I don't know. For me, I mean, every day is Halloween pretty much to me anyways, but it's a very special time, like at the end of the summer when you're kind of getting to that September, October time. You're like, all right, cool, like all the haunts are, hey, we're doing auditions for, to come and be a scare actor. We're gonna start opening up the Spirit Halloweens. Just all the stores have all their Halloween shit, which I lose my mind over. I go to Target on a regular anyways, but I'm just there like 20 more million times a day, just to see what they have. So,
Right.
it's all craziness, but it just kind of just like that, and just to kind of have the option of doing it. Not only that, but I also do kind of a haunted house type of thing here at my house. Mostly every year, so like where all the trick-or-treaters come, and I kind of sit up the front of my house and I dress up and I just scare the shit out of them, It's fucking great,
I didn't know that. So
Yeah,
you could still actually do that this year. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
You could still do it.
I didn't do it last year because I was working and stuff. But pretty much every year up until then, and my friend Steven, who's a really good friend of mine too. He lives down the street from me, and he would come every year. He would help me set it up, and we just kind of just like we'd pick our characters for the year, and we dress up. We get all the props and get everything set up, and we have like a little like line where you got to go from like my front lawn to the driveway through all this way just to get the candy. And if you make it there, then you get candy.
I'm just confused why you never submitted your stuff to the SoCal Haunt. Well, we'll talk about that.
Yeah, I know.
You can do that this year, which is pretty dope. Now, and that's a good perspective. You're like, it's a feel. It's every day, and I'm with you on that. It's every day. And to be quite honest with you, going into Spirit yesterday, I had a few conversations with folks, friends that I've been friends with for years, and even my husband, who's been friends with this particular gent, who's also into theater, remind me to introduce you to him. He was saying that it just feels good to feel good. And walking into Spirit yesterday, even when I had more of a Halloween reaction, more of a like, when I went to the at-home store. I had to drive far to get there, but it was worth it. And then, of course, when Spirit opens, like, you see that shit coming when you're driving. Next, it's going to be, I'm not going to go to any pumpkin patches, but it just feels good to be happy again. Halloween is just the best fucking time of year, man.
It is. Just, in this kind of time, you just really have to kind of just take those, like, little things and really embrace them, just like, like any kind of sense of normalcy, just go with it,
Take it. Yeah. Now, don't laugh at me, because...
Okay.
Sometimes I'm like, maybe I need speech therapy. Usually it's because I want to learn Spanish and I just suck at it. It just sounds so Caucasian. You're immunocompromised. I did it.
Yeah. You got it. You got it.
Again, you're immunocompromised. You work, you go home, you go to Target.
Too much.
But what message would you like to convey to the ignorant phlegm spewers who could give a shit about your life and won't wear a fucking mask?
You know what? Just please just be more responsible. You know what? To be honest with you, it really is a small price to pay for being able to go and do what you want to do. Us out there who are working, we have to wear masks 8 hours a day, and we don't like it any more than you do. So, I mean, if you're complaining about going, I don't want to wear it, it's too hot, it's too this, I got to go in the store. Well, the store's air conditioning. I mean, you're really only going from your car to the store 30 seconds there, and then you're in the store, and you're going to be in the store maybe an hour tops, maybe less than that, and then you go back to your car and you take it off, you go home and you take it off. Like, it's really not that hard. And you know what? And if that's what it's going to take for us to kind of just get things in order and go back to so we can go to a time where we don't have to wear a mask. and we can just kind of just stop doing that. It's really a small price to pay, and for people that just don't want to conform, I mean, I'm sorry. And, you know, I think some of the downfall of us having so much freedom in this country is that a lot of people feel very entitled, and we're just very entitled individuals, and, you know, and that's the downside. And we're just like spoiled kids sometimes, you know, like we don't like people telling us what to do. I'm like, I understand that. I'm all about, you know, doing what you got to do, but there's a certain point where you got to, you know, you just got to just do some things, you know, and just try and save people's lives, you know. I mean, if not for, you know, if we're not thinking about them, I mean, if you really got to be selfish, then think about yourself and be like, you know, you're also saving yourself from an illness that can take you out, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And like me personally, like I got a lot of stuff I still got to do in life, you know, and so, you know, I'm trying to be around for a lot longer, you know. So
right. And
I'm not trying to get sick.
I'm watching. Exactly. I'm watching. I need you're the basis for, you know, this book that I want to write. So if anyone fucks you up, they're going to have to have me to deal with.
Yeah.
Just wear a fucking mask.
Yeah.
We could be Italy right now, you know?
And the cool thing about it too is that, like, you know, even if it's a style thing, a lot of people are making cool masks. Like
right?
you can go out and get a mask that speaks to you, and so like if you want to, you know, like, so there's still a way to be fashionable about it. Like me, I have this really cool kind of monster teeth mask, and I love it, you know. You know, and it's really simple as that. I mean, you don't have to go out and wear those ugly surgical, like, non-medical masks. Fine. Go out and buy a mask that works for you and rock it. That's it.
Right. So. I need to see that one when you're done. All right. So let's get into it. I know my friend Linda Favinchianti is going to love this question. It's unavoidable. Okay. Fuck your beard. You know exactly the beard.
Oh, that's a good photo right there. Yeah, I like that photo.
You know, it's a good thing. It's much to my husband's dismay. It's a good thing you weren't at the Twisted Christmas event, because I actually told him last night, I think that, you know, I could have been the one that started the coronavirus pandemic that one particular night, because I was drunk and I was like I was touching beards. Ask Ernie Velosa and Creep Cake about that. So let's talk about some beard care here. How do you? I mean, your ginger beard is straight out of like Viking lore, you know. I thought, what's his face from Game of Thrones, but then Mike Corona appeared into the realm.
Changed the game.
How do you care for that thing?
You know, it's like, you know, I mean, a lot of people don't think about it. It's like having regular hair, you know, like you gotta take care of it. You gotta shower it. You gotta shampoo it. You know, like, so, you know, like, especially. Yeah, I mean, like, you know, like when you shower, it's not just about showering your hair, washing your body. You know, I have special shampoos and a conditioner. You know, so shampoo it, conditioning. You know, do all the stuff, you know, that you would like if you were washing your hair. You know, like and not every day too, because washing your hair every day it dries it out, kills everything. So, you know, and then just for some extra care, I have I have the beard oils that I order, you know, the bombs, and you just kind of just put it in your beard, and that's mainly to kind of make it softer and just to make it manageable, so it's not just all like throwing out after a shower, you know.
Do you have the curls going right now?
I do have the curls going back, yeah.
Ah, damn it, Mike. Fuck.
And there's and that I don't do now. No.
Oh, see.
Yeah, so like
my husband has a straightener.
I mean, you know what? I mean, I probably could go down that route, but I think just like if you want to do that, you have to get the wax, and it's just a mirror of just kind of training your hair to kind of be doing in that position, you know. Just so you got to have to start off slow, and just kind of like every day have the wax and just kind of just be doing this. I know it looks kind of stupid when you're doing it, but you know, but you kind of just have to do that, and then you know, like after a while, it will kind of train itself. So.
Oh, so badass.
Yeah.
Do you have a product that you recommend above all for beard care?
Actually, to be honest with you, there's the Goodfellas brand from Target. I know, obviously Target, but that brand actually looks really well. And and they have like really good shampoos, really good wax, and really good balm. And it's simple and not very expensive either, which is great, you know, because, you know, like as a kid, you're like, you know, you're like, why do my parents bitch about spending so much money? But then when you have to buy it yourself, you're like, okay, now I get it, you know. But you know, so it's you know, that's, you know, it's right on my budget. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Okay, so your moniker is super rad. Where did you come up with the Hombre in Black?
Hombre in Black, you know, again, I have to give credit to my you know, my best friend and producer Chris. He's such a character, you know. He's actually he's like comedian on himself, you know. Back in the day, he used to do stand up, and, you know, even just, you know, he's always telling jokes, and that's why it's so great to be around him, because he's just a ball of fun. And but the one thing that he really does is that he has nicknames for everybody, for all of his friends. So I've gone through so many nicknames with him. Like for a long time, I was Mad Mike. He's like like he would, it was back in high school, it was a day of MySpace.
Oh
we're
yeah.
gonna take it back there, and we would be on on Facebook and not on Facebook, on MySpace, and he would send me all of these little like kind of posters, don't fuck with Mad Mike, and it'd be Harvey Keitel from Reservoir Dogs and all that kind of shit. So so that was my kind of my moniker for a long time, and so we were kind of hanging out with our friend Dave, who he calls Dave the Fish Sanchez. I don't know why again, but he has like a million nicknames for him. So it's like depending on what day it is or what mood he is, he'll call him the name. But it's always been the Fish, whatever. So he was gonna give him he was calling him like the Hombre in Black. He's like, he goes, I'm thinking of calling you like because you're always wearing black. I'm like, well, I wear all black, don't I? I'm like, he goes, you know what, Mike? He goes, yeah, you're right. He goes, and he's like, and he. Because you got that kind of very like that Robert Rodriguez / Tarantino, hombre kind of guy too. He goes, you know what? Yeah, he goes, Mike, goes, you are the hombre in black. He goes, I'm adopting that to you. That is your name from now on. That is all you. And I'm like, okay, thank you.
I love it.
So, yeah. So, yeah, pretty much all of my cool, kind of social media handles. I love to take credit that I came up with them myself, but that's all him. So.
What about Killer Beagle Films?
Killer Beagle Films, that's a great, that's a product, that's a production company that we actually started after we made that one with me, Chris, and Dave, and that's gonna pretty much be our moniker for all of our films going forward. Especially when we're gonna do all of our horror films, they're gonna all be under that banner. So
awesome.
We have another film planned. I mean, we're gonna hopefully when everything we can get really back in order. We have a really cool another film that we wanted to do. I can't tell you too much about it, but just know it's called Bad Turkey. So yeah, so you can kind of play with that there, But it's a really cool film. We have been talking about it for a long time. Dave, he's a very great writer. He's a great horror writer. Well, one of the reasons why I was very happy to have Dave in our group is because, like me, he's a huge horror guy. And I remember, like, my first conversation with him, like, dude, we were just nerding out about horror for hours. And, my friend Chris, like, he's a big lover of films, but horror at first wasn't his main, kind of genre. So, like, he knew horror, but not as much as me and Dave. So, like, me and Dave were just like, oh, fucking this and that. And we were just kind of just geeking out. So, we would kind of like quiz each other. Well, what about this? I'm like, oh yes, I know that. So, so.
I love it. You make these connections and you work as a team, and I love that. That's how, and I love that you're like, look, I'm not going to take all the credit. You're going to be so good.
All right, absolutely not. Yeah, I mean, it's all about I think you just really have to humble yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So. Yeah.
And then that thick skin. So speaking of thick skin, let's have an argument.
Okay.
Werewolves seem to be a thing of yours. Would you actually agree that American Werewolf in London is the best werewolf film?
I do. I remember. I do absolutely. I remember watching that. I think it was Sally. I don't think I saw all the way through until freshman year in high school, but I remember watching that and. Seeing that transformation scene for the first time, and it was a great time because that's when like my like love for directing and really getting into the technical side of filmmaking was really in its high gear. And I remember just seeing that transformation scene for the first time. I'm like, holy shit, that is fucking amazing.
It still gets me, and it's fucking frightening. That was the first time I was ever afraid of a werewolf. Like, so it's just one of the best damn movies. All right, so another fun fact. And it's it's a rarity that I actually find someone who has comedy is like I'd rather watch horror films all day every day. Hey Mom, what do you want to watch on TV? There's a new horror film on Hulu, Prime, Shudder, whatever. If you don't like what I'm gonna suggest, then fuck off. But I can't. I rarely find shit funny. And then when I do find something that's absolutely hilarious, I become obsessed. So. Yes. As a kid, I remember my cousin introducing me to Pet Detective. I said Pet Cemetery when I was stoned.
There you go.
I didn't even know. So Ace Ventura, Pet Detective, fucking Jim Carrey. But my favorite, if I'm in a funk, like I'm in a really bad mood, way to kill it for me is put on something Jim Carrey, but especially Yes Man.
Oh
I
yes.
cannot believe that you and I have the same comedy film in common. What do you love about Yes Man so much? As I laugh my ass off just thinking about it.
Well, of course, number one, Jim Carrey. You know, because Jim Carrey for me, he has, that goes back to my childhood. Like growing up, like again, films were everything for me. Like especially all those films. Like I remember, yeah, of course, Ace Ventura, but like Liar, Liar. That's on my monitor, dude. I could watch that movie all day, every day. I love it so much, and just it's just stuff like that. Like he was just so funny. Like a lot of my mannerisms, like as a kid, were kind of like modeled after Jim Carrey, which would piss off my parents. Like, what are you doing? But
our parents hated him.
Yes,
like they hated his guts.
yes.
Like,
I don't know why. Like my mom, even to this day, she's still not kind of warm on him. I'm like, why? It's fucking Jim Carrey. But okay. So the great thing is that he hadn't, he was kind of going into a lot of serious films for a long time, which are great. Again, Truman Show 2 is one of my favorite films of all time. Great movie. But Yes Man was kind of his kind of not right return, but he was like really getting back into the whole comedy of it. And I just thought it was a great premise. I'm like, it had a great story. The whole concept of kind of like, to me, like stepping outside of your comfort zone, because
right.
again, like back in the day, I was known to be kind of a no man myself. I was kind of like, oh, I don't know if I should be doing this, and so I mean, I learned that you really have to step out of your comfort zone and just kind of say fuck it, and things will come out of it. Like you go out there and try it, and if it works, it doesn't. But if it does, hey, here I am.
Tell me about it.
Yeah. So it was it was a lot of that, but done in a great way. And then of course Zoe Deschanel. You still my beating heart, Yeah. So, so it was kind of like them too, like I never thought of them kind of being in the film, like, but they had great chemistry in the film, they were just fucking hilarious. And the music was great too, like I just love those scenes where she has her, where he goes and, and he watches her band. Those songs are just fucking amazing, dude. I love it.
And I actually used to hope that there was a soundtrack, or that they would actually come out with a band.
Yes, I'm like I would go watch that show any day. Like
right?
if they legit put that band together and went on tour, I'm there.
I'm there too. I'm like, please. What was it? Munchausen by proxy.
Yeah. Wait, Munchausen by proxy. Yeah.
So. And I think the whole thing with her too is just that free spirit, and then of course living in LA is epic. So.
Oh yeah. Not even that, but it was like the intro. No, I'm sorry, just one second.
No,
it was like it was the intro too. Like even from like the intro, like his cell phone going off and playing Journey.
Right.
I was like, I'm already hooked.
Didn't it come out around the same time as Tron, the newer Tron 2? I feel like they were close together.
Yes.
And that song, I remember.
It was
it was like that song actually. Stayed in the household for a while, and I'm like, fuck, dude, what's Journey gonna play? And I remember we found it. Anyway, so it's funny how a certain film could just spin off into different things, but he's sitting there with the phone, he's vehemently denying that it's him on the phone, and I'm going, how many times have we done that?
Yeah. Not only that, but it does kind of take you back to a better time, because he's at a Blockbuster. I used to live for Friday nights at Blockbuster. Like when I was a kid, I used to beg my mom, please, can we go to Blockbuster? She'd be like, oh, I don't have any money. Well, can you find like $20 for my grandpa or something? Take me to the video store. Like I need to watch this movie, and I would, I would run to the new release section, and I'd be like, do they have a copy?
Oh man,
simpler times, yeah.
Better times, man.
Yeah,
when we were kids, everything was better. I miss VHS not VHS.
Oh, yeah.
I miss DVDs a lot. So I could get killed for that by some poor things. Sorry, guys. So, Mike, what can we expect from you from here on out? I know you said that you have a project coming up. Do you have anything else besides making sure that I'm on top of everything that you're doing? Because I have a book to write.
Yeah. Okay. So like, absolutely. I'm it's not set in stone, but hopefully 2021 brings some different times, and we're able to do more things. So definitely, I'm gonna get back with Killer Beagle Films. We're gonna hopefully work on that film. Get that going. And we actually have a couple films on the pipeline. I mean, I have a horror, not a horror film, but a film I've been writing, kind of based on the life of my grandfather. I was very close with my grandfather, before he passed quite a few years ago, and it's kind of like loosely based on his life, but it's going to be all in Spanish. So so that's something that I really want to do. Hopefully get that done. I don't know if in 2021, hopefully, after that horror film, but I do have another film as well. I had written an action film called Shot of Death, about a female hit woman, which I love. I love that whole concept of a hot chick kicking ass.
Yeah.
So so that's something that I've been wanting to do for a long time. So hopefully we kind of get that in the pipeline. And I'm also gonna hopefully get into music as well. Me and my friend Chris, again, we had another band called Death and the Aquanauts, and it was kind of a while back, and it was kind of like a comedy rock band, kind of like a wannabe Tenacious D, but I think taking it to the next level, especially with all the filthiness, yeah, it was kind of like the whole concept with that is we were kind of, the songs were just like, real chords, real like sections, but then the hook would be just something dirty,
Which is really interesting because you were just this quiet, polite, soft-spoken, and then this will be interesting. So please tell me, continue. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was kind of like because that's the kind of humor that me and my friend have. Like, of course, very respectful, like always. But then when it comes to our sense of humor and comedy, we just don't care. And we also just kind of wanted to do something that would just kind of just like, whoa, like I remember we had a show in 2015, and at this our great friend Amber, she's an artist. She put together an art show, and she had all of these bands playing there. They're all like super like Warped Tour professional bands or whatever. And then comes me and my friend on our acoustic guitars plugged into the PA system, and I guess everybody loved it because we blew the whole show away, and we're the only band that got an encore. And, everybody just ate it up, like, and it was just stuff like, because we started off and we have a song called Sorry. But the kind of the whole hook of the song is, sorry, I fucked your sister, that kind of whole thing,
That's epic.
And then I guess I kind of would say our, if we had a hit single, I could say, it's a song called Wishful Thinking, which is pretty much about, kind of like going out there and kind of finding a girl, that kind of has a similar interest, but then kind of like the hook was always in the best part of all, she'll love to suck my balls, and then it's pretty much about finding the perfect girl who loves to swallow, I guess. It's pretty much what you,
and then you got a barrier.
Pretty much in a nutshell, so, yeah.
I love it. The
best part about that show is that, my mom and dad actually they're like, oh, you're going to play a show? Yeah. I'm like, well, like we want to come see you play. I'm like, are you sure? They're like, yeah. So they were actually there, so I can kind of say that I had my mom there, seeing me play songs about girls swallowing a load. So,
What'd she say? She give you the shit for that?
You know what? She actually laughed, like she actually recorded the whole show, like, I mean, like, yeah, like some, I was expecting people to just like throw us out and be like, you guys are just fucking pigs, but like everybody ate it up and they loved it, and like we were kind of like unprepared for it because we were like, you know what, nobody's gonna give a shit, so we didn't make any shirts or any CDs. We just kind of went up there and just played, and people were like, oh, do you got a CD? Do you got a shirt? Like I need something. So we're like, well, we didn't, we didn't kind of think about that, so you can kind of, remember it.
That's pretty sick. That's really cool.
Yeah. So, but we're actually gonna
listen to happy, lovey music while you're out partying.
Absolutely. But we're actually gonna do something else though. Like we always still play that stuff, but we have another friend Jeff, and he's from another band that my friend Chris was in, and we're actually gonna start putting together kind of like a grunge type of band, I think. So we're gonna try that out and see how that goes. I'm gonna switch from guitar and vocals to I'm gonna actually be playing bass in that band, so which is something that I'm actually like really looking forward to because I love playing bass. I think bass is such a fun instrument. So
love it.
Yeah,
dude. So Mike, you are killing it. That moment of woe at the beginning of COVID hasn't fucking stopped you, dude.
Absolutely.
Where can we find you? Where can we find your work?
Okay,
where can people look you up?
Of course, I'm pretty sure everybody has an Instagram nowadays. You can find me at Instagram at the Hombre in Black, all one word. And you can also follow my film page, for all of those updates and everything that we're doing there. That's I'm Instagram at Killer Beagle Films. So go ahead and follow us there. It's Killer and then the underscore and then Beagle Films, all one word again. So, and then I also do have a YouTube page. I admit I haven't posted as much on there as I like to because I've been doing all of my other kind of stuff. But I'm gonna be putting stuff back on there once all my films come back inside. I think I'm gonna try and do some more weekly updates of my show that I was doing on there. So that's youtube.com/bitternerd88. So again, youtube.com beardednerd88 for all that kind of stuff there. So
love it, and I'll make sure to post it when we promote this film.
oh, absolutely.
Mike, you're great. I wish we've only, started to, we only, came together, networked, whatever the fuck. You're a friend of mine at this point. That we could safely say for a long time, for about a year now. We've only met once in person. I can't wait for better times, bro. And
absolutely.
Keep working, keep sharing, keep doing you. Thank you again for coming on my weird little show. And
thank you for having me.
Real, of course. We were supposed to do this months and months ago. So thank you for being a part of the new vamped up Michelle Halloween show.
I love it. It's like I'm gonna say, this is a really big honor for me. I'm a big fan of you. Like I love all your work that you do. Not only that, but just like all of your stuff that you do for all the Black Lives Matter stuff. I mean, that's just very special, and it shows how much of a caring person you are, and just that you really care about everybody, and that, and then, again, like in these kind of times, we just really have to get it, stick together, so.
We really do. We really do. But thank you, because now I'm all flattered. No, I don't know what to say. Everyone, again, you saw how you could find Mike Arota, the Hombre in Black. Stay tuned. Keep your peepers open, because this man has a lot coming up, and I have a book to write about him. I'm just making sure you have that pressure on you.
That's right.
Until next time, spookies, we'll see you when we see you.
Take care.
Shut the fuck up.